is up? Welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, I am not in my normal surroundings. I'm actually here in the south of France in a place called La Domaine Malpas, which is a place that my friends own. They moved here from Amsterdam to start their own hotel, as it were, and it's just lovely. I'm here between the apple trees and the farmland and the cows munching away, and this is just an awesome place to be. And I have a new camera, so I thought, why not do a vlog in this lovely place and talk to you about careers and how to advance them. Because I kind of feel like this grandpa. I'm 35, but as a web developer, that's pretty old. I've done this for a long time and I've come really far. Luckily, I had success in my career. I also had a lot of failure, but because of that, you learn and you grow. And so when you're on holiday, you tend to reflect on things, or at least I do. So I was reflecting on, hey, what did I do this year during COVID? And actually, I did pretty well. So I thought, why not write down a bunch of things that I learned that can help you, when you watch this, to advance your career. So it's story time. Sit down and let's do this. All right, let's get this video started. I just changed camera positions because why not? I have a vlogging camera. So you can see there's like this old farmhouse here. Let me just focus that for you. It's really nice, right? I keep on finding these hidden gems on this lovely place here. Anyway, so let's get started. I think one of the most important points in your career is to know the fact that things take time. Things always take time. You have to be kind of patient. And I'm not saying here that when you take your time and be patient that everything happens automatically. Sadly not. But there's been so many times that I've seen people work somewhere for a year, felt like it didn't progress and try to find another job. And then if I would follow them, they would do that again the next job and then become freelance. And then they didn't really get where they wanted to be in their career. And I've seen this many times, especially with front-end developers who feel like kind of things have to be rushed. But you know what, guys and girls, it doesn't have to be, right? And I'm a bit guilty of this myself in the past, so that's why I thought, why not discuss that now and make sure you don't do that, right? Sometimes things just take a bit of time for others to see what you've been doing. And especially your bosses that can actually give you a promotion, they tend to be very busy people. And I am one of those now, so I know how that feels. There's always like business goals, there's team orientations, there's a lot of stuff you have to be doing if you're higher up in the chain. And you know what, actually a super important part is to be there for your team and notice what they do, but it's just not always reality. And I know I'm guilty of that a little bit myself. Sometimes I have to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and it's just really hard to keep tabs on everybody. So what you should do is make sure that you, as a person that wants to be promoted, kind of play the game. And that's not a manipulation game, but it's the game of kind of making goals, reaching those goals, and making sure the perception of you is positive. Right? You don't always have to be the best at everything, but just make sure that every time somebody who is a manager thinks about you, it's good. Right? So always be on time, be in your meetings, be active, be responsible. It's a very big one. Take responsibility for your own work. And part of that taking responsibility, if you want to grow, actually make goals that really get you somewhere. And you tend to, or you should actually make those goals with your manager together. Like they can generally see, because from higher up to where you are, what you need to progress. And generally when you actually make goals that are measurable over time, it might sometimes take some time, but when you reach them, you should be ready to be promoted. But then there's the next bit. So I've seen many people actually reach some goals and then not get promoted because, you know what? They didn't ask. It's that simple. So what I tend to do, and this is also important for the people who are kind of still a minority in the tech world, like women developers or people with a different skin tone than I have, for example. Sad to say, they're still a bit of a minority. But what I always say is just do what the white guys do. And what do white guys do? They kind of, because I guess because of our privilege, we just ask, can I have this? And you know what? If you have been prepared, you did your work well, you met your goals, and you do a good job, and then you ask, you generally get that what you want, right? And so I tend to say, just look at what the white guys do, because they all do it. They're all in higher positions. Just be an asshole and ask for what you want. And you know what? When you are prepared, if you come to me and I'm your manager and you are prepared and you have done everything we discussed you would do, you will get what you want. And not everybody is like that. And if it's really impossible, you might not be in the right place of work. But don't let me tell you where to work, of course. But I think that's a pretty important part, right? Okay, so I think we've covered quite a bit here. Let's go to the next camera position. Another subject, another location. There's a little farmhouse here, there's a hammock here we tend to chill in. Man, this place is good. So let's talk a little bit about work-life balance, because I kind of feel sometimes that people don't really get that right, because they don't really go to the extremes of the both, so they don't really get to know themselves of what they can actually do. And also then, when you know what you can do, then you know what you want to do. So in my opinion, between the age of, let's say, 20 and 25 or 20 and 27, you should go two ways. You should go extreme busy, go crazy on the work, like go as far as you can and see where your limit is. And then after that, or whenever you want, go as calm as you can and do as little as you can and see where your limit is there. Because if you're bored, you're not happy, your motivation is gone. If you're too busy, maybe that motivation is also gone. So you need to find your own location of where you want to be in that scale. I know for myself, I like to be, my motivation is highest at the high end of the scale. I tend to be busy. Some people have different priorities. And so you're gonna have to find a way for you what you like. And then once you know, you can align your motivation next to it. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then based on that, you can advance your career, right? So motivation is about mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Also, it's also monetary, but assuming you work in web development, money is fine. Like there's a lot of work out there, so let's not talk about that at the moment. But if you have mastery, autonomy, and purpose, all of those three combined, you're generally highly motivated and things just flow. You're happy, you're creative, things happen, right? But if one of those goes down, people tend to become a bit frustrated. And I've seen a lot of web developers actually feel frustrated. And you know what? They tend to not really know why they are frustrated. And then they kind of blame it on their boss, or the client is stupid, or this is not the job for me, move to another job, without actually addressing why they are upset or why they are annoyed. And these guys or girls that get annoyed, it tends to be when you start to become more senior, you start to see things you don't like, but you don't really know yet why. So what I always say to the people in my teams is, well, let's have a look at this mastery, autonomy, and purpose, right? Let's do an example. Let's think about Avenue when he built Vue.js, right? So when you build an open source tool like that, you clearly have mastery. He knew what he was doing, right? Of course, he was learning as he went, but he had the mastery over his whole code base. So he's cool there. Then he probably also had the autonomy, at least in the beginning. He was able to choose anything he wanted to say, this is good for the tool I'm making. But imagine, what if nobody liked Vue.js, right? Imagine he did all that work for 2 years and nobody used it. At that point, your purpose is gone. And you can imagine, if you have no purpose, why work so hard? Motivation down the drain. So he wouldn't want to work that hard anymore, maybe even drop it. Okay, there's a bit of wind. I hope my mic is not picking too much. Anyways, so maybe another example, you might work on this old school legacy code base, right? You can have mastery. If you work on that for long enough, you will just understand it. You will have purpose because maybe for that client, whatever you do for that maintenance project is so important, they will make money, so purpose is good. But autonomy might actually be gone because of these old shitty systems that you cannot change anything. Then your autonomy seems to be gone, right? You are not able to make changes based on your own opinions. And again, motivation goes down. So what I tend to do is when we figure out why people are upset or annoyed, figure out their motivations, put the finger on it, shall we say, make specific goals or set goals for the manager to help the person out, they tend to overcome those. And then when you go back to taking the time, making the goals work, getting the overview, you can get promoted, right? So it all goes together. For the rest, I would say, well, those things at work professionally, this is the way to go. There's also a bunch of other stuff you could do, right? But let's find a new camera position and talk about that. I thought I'd give the fancy selfie stick a try. Look at that stabilization. Anyways, let's get my face exposed and start talking. So I think as a last part of this video, we can talk about how you can shape your career for the better. As it turns out, you can actually do a whole lot yourself to give your career some direction, right? And for me, that tends to work by doing a little bit of your own projects, exploring subjects, trying to champion subjects, and with that learn a whole bunch, right? And then if you know something well, you become kind of the subject matter expert, and at work things will change for you, right? Because you can actually, you learn to lead a subject, you learn to support others, you learn to teach, you learn to present. All of that comes from championing a subject. So let's give some examples from my own career. Like for me, way back in the day, I always worked on projects and something wouldn't really just work nicely. For example, back in the day, we're talking 2010 here, I guess the video tag in HTML5 had just came out, but we still had Flash players. But of course we didn't really like the Flash players, we liked the video tag, so I decided to make a video player with like a super nice layout that would either work with all these different video files, but also Flash fallback and a whole bunch of things, and we needed that for a project, so I just started doing that. And then you learn a lot, and then all projects that we got where I worked, we used my video player. And so I had to learn to present what I did. I had to work on issues that people would file. I had to teach others what I did and how the thing worked. So you learn a bunch, and then you become a little bit of an expert on that work, right? And that really helped me to grow. And later on in my career, I did it for even more things. Like I used to work in luxury a lot, I still do actually. So companies like Chanel or Louis Vuitton, and they always have super rich, fancy pages, and they all have big images. Like, you know, those big hero banners with a fancy model on them. The thing is, those images need to look pristine for those brands, but they also need to load really fast. And they need to be responsive images, and all of that complexity combined is generally really hard for people to work with. So, oh sorry, there's just an animal on my foot. So I decided I would dive into this and learn, okay, how do responsive images work? How do I encode images? How do you resize them? How to optimize them? There's a whole bunch of stuff there. And for a bunch of those brands, I was always the person they would ask, Tim, how does that thing work? And I profiled myself as someone who knows about media, because I did the video stuff and I did the images stuff. And you know what? Right now, that got me a job as a media developer expert at Cloudinary. And Cloudinary is a company that basically specializes in the delivery of media, right? From video streaming, optimization, AI stuff, amazing things. And so that got me to where I am right now. And now I can speak on conferences about this kind of stuff. and I'm in the Media Developer Expert program with a lot of people that are so much better at their job than me. So I have all these connections now. And then I decided to do this YouTube thing. And then things just take off from there. And you know what's interesting? I'm now doing this YouTube thing. I do videos about startups and how if I like their software or not, like the Tim Tries series. And from that, I suddenly get job offers about advocacy and how to do community building and stuff like that. And honestly, me trying to scratch that image itch years ago shaped my career to what it is now. And I can now basically kind of choose, do I want to be a developer? Do I want to be a tech director? Or maybe I want to be a software advocate. Maybe I want to work at a startup now. And having a bit of experience and grit and working hard can really get you somewhere. So if I can do that, you can do that too, because you have people like me giving you those tips now, even when you're younger. And you know what? There are so many youngsters out there now that are so good. I really wish I was that good at that age. But I guess I'm starting to sound like the grandpa again, you know. Everything now goes fast and everybody is awesome. But anyways, I hope these tips helped you, and I hope my first vlog was interesting for you. And you know, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.